Over the years, you may have heard the rumors of a fake Melania Trump, because sometimes the First Lady just doesn't look like herself. So how often is Melania hiding out somewhere while a body double takes her place? Let's take a look at the story of fake Melania Trump. There doesn't seem to be any consensus on where exactly the fake Melania theory first reared its suspiciously shaped head. According to Vox, it was probably a 2017 tweet from Joe Vargas, who is a CBD retailer operating under the business name Buy Legal Meds. So not a huge Twitter figure really, but for some reason this particular little tweet turned into a giant out-of-control force of nature. In the tweet that reportedly kicked things off from the account which has since been suspended, Vargas wrote, "This is not Melania. To think they would go this far and try and make us think it's her on TV is mind-blowing. Makes me wonder what else is a lie." He then posted side-by-side photographs of the First Lady, or the alleged First Lady if you believe the accusation. In the first photo, Melania looks pretty much like Melania always looks, stern-faced and squinty-eyed. In the second photo, she's wearing a pair of huge sunglasses. Not super convincing, but people love conspiracies, and it wasn't long before thousands of people were spreading the rumor online, and so fake Melania was born.
Heroes are made, not born.
So why, oh why, would this dumb rumor keep popping up years after that first tweet? Apart from the fact that people just love conspiracies in general, this particular conspiracy seems to fit nicely with Melania's personality and the relationship she appears to have with her husband. Esquire points out that the First Lady famously avoids the press, sleeps in a separate bedroom from her husband, often refuses to hold his hand, and really does seem to be faking her way through a lot of those public events she's compelled to attend. So it's really not a huge leap from there to think that she might have found some Melania lookalike or another so she doesn't have to actually pretend to like being the First Lady. There was also that time when she actually vanished for 24 days, which fueled all kinds of speculation about what she might have been doing. So perhaps to avoid similar future gossip, she decided to use a stand-in.
They're saying we haven't seen her since the 10th, and everyone has their questions about where is she?
It is true that Melania is one of the least visible First Ladies the United States has ever had, but that doesn't necessarily mean she'd go so far as to hire someone else to walk in her ridiculously expensive high heels. Still, given a nice, comfortable pile of cash, a husband she seems to actively dislike, and duties she never really asked for or wanted, the thought must have at least crossed her mind. The rumor is based on a few images in particular that appear to show the First Lady looking not very much like herself. The real problem with the comparison is that sunglasses, especially the giant ones that the First Lady is so fond of, tend to have a distorting effect on a person's face. They can make a long nose look shorter, and they can make a face look wider. So it's really not very useful to compare a photo of a person without sunglasses to a photo of a person with sunglasses. Of course, purveyors of this theory argue the face-obscuring nature of those giant sunglasses is precisely the reason why Melania's body double would choose to wear them. Another problem with the whole idea is that people tend to look different on television than they do in photographs, partly because the screen itself can have a distorting effect. According to Snoops, one favorite piece of footage that supposedly supports the fake Melania theory was recorded using a phone filming a television screen. In the footage, Melania's face looks sort of squished, but if you compare the phone footage to the actual original CNN video, the distortion disappears and Melania looks more like Melania. As the Snoops write-up put it, this is not evidence of a body double, it's evidence of a poorly working television. Donald Trump is not exactly the most articulate person in the world, so it's kind of hard to read between the lines when you're listening to him speak. He has said some really strange things that seem to give weight to the whole fake Melania thing, though. In September 2017, for example, the president was talking to first responders in Fort Myers, Florida, just after Hurricane Irma, when he said something really odd.
I just want to thank everybody, the first responders. On behalf of myself, our vice president, Melania really wanted to be with us.
But Melania was literally standing right next to him, so...
What the hell is here? Huh?
Did he forget she was there? Or maybe he meant she made a huge effort to get there and he chose a weird way to say it? Then, in October 2017, he made a similarly strange comment while speaking to reporters on the White House lawn.
My wife, Melania, who happens to be right here, finds that subject to be of such vital importance.
Which of course led people to speculate that she was not actually right here, because otherwise, why would he feel compelled to say so? Still, is it really evidence that Melania is using a body double, or is it more likely evidence that the president is in his 70s and maybe getting a little grandpa-ish? Remember what Sherlock Holmes said, once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how obvious, must be the truth. Or something like that, we're not sure. In the olden days, when people just got their information from television and newspapers, these weird conspiracy theories didn't go nearly so far. They stayed pretty much in the fringes, where people could laugh at them but not get sucked in by millions of retweets. Today, social media feeds conspiracy theories, although some media outlets have given the fake Melania phenomenon its fair share of attention as well. The theory really hit mainstream when The View decided to take it on. At first, hosts Joy Behar and Abby Huntsman said they were skeptical, but after looking at some of the photos of the Trump surveying tornado damage in Alabama, Behar decided the person standing next to Trump just looked a little bit different than the Melania we're used to.
I wasn't going to go along with this, but that one in that picture doesn't look like her.
Host Sunny Hostin then implied that she felt like the theory was credible enough to devote an entire hour of her weekend to, during which time she compared Alabama Melania to other places Melania, and concluded that Alabama Melania seemed shorter than other places Melania. The host did at least acknowledge that all footwear is not created with the same size heels. Then, guest host Anna Navarro made light of the whole issue by saying that it was, quote, crazy and absurd, but it's also funny. And the conspiracy theorists went even wilder. So if Melania does indeed have a body double, then who is it? Hey, what about that Secret Service woman who has the same color hair but otherwise really doesn't resemble the First Lady all that much? Well, as it turns out, if you spend enough time trying to convince the public that something's true, a good chunk of the public will just come around to believing you, no matter how silly the thing you're saying actually is. The Secret Service agent in question is sort of the same height as Melania, although in some photos she looks to be several inches shorter than the First Lady, give or take a couple of inches of heel. Also, says Insider, the agent often wears sunglasses. Which, okay, we were following you there for a second, but seriously? There are millions of people in America who wear sunglasses. Are they all fake Melania? Anyway, we're sure that Melania's Secret Service agent just loves that half of Twitter thinks she's fake Melania, and has probably not spent any time asking her superiors if she could just please go look after the Obamas for a while instead. But keep on conspiracying, Twitter. It's a great look. So instead of just not paying attention to all the nonsense, President Trump himself decided to give fake Melania even more credibility by accusing the media of doctoring photos when that's clearly not what's going on. The fake news photoshopped pictures of Melania, then propelled conspiracy theories that it's actually not her by my side in Alabama and other places. They're only getting more deranged with time. Those words, of course, were tweeted with absolutely no sense of irony from the guy who spent years promoting a conspiracy theory about President Obama's birthplace, but never mind. According to Vox, there's no evidence that anyone in the media or elsewhere has ever done any fake Melania photoshopping. That sort of thing is actually pretty easy to spot and totally unnecessary for the promotion of this kind of theory. Just about everyone has a photo or two where they really don't look like themselves, and that's largely due to the differences in camera angles and lens length, and also those giant face-distorting sunglasses. But most of us never get accused of having a body double over a few odd-looking photos, because most of us are not first ladies. So in the absence of evidence that the fake Melania photos have been doctored, Trump is kinda making the whole thing seem more credible by accusing the media of things it's clearly not doing. Gotta fill those tweets with something. Ironically, the fake Melania story is actually so fake that the so-called fake news media has even come out and said that the story is fake, which does actually kind of make you wonder. If the fake news media says fake Melania Trump is fake and the fake news media is fake, does that mean that fake Melania Trump is not fake? It kind of makes you think, right?
I missed out on the whole thing, to be honest with you. I was confused by it. I was very confused by the whole thing, if I'm being honest.
Anyway, even CNN ran an article about fake Melania Trump, which was in no uncertain terms entitled, "No, Melania Trump does not have a body double." Their story really doesn't seem likely to dissuade those who are especially passionate about the idea, though, since a bulk of the information in the article seems to have come directly from the White House itself. And why would the White House admit fake Melania Trump is fake if they're counting on the public believing that fake Melania Trump is totally not fake? A White House spokeswoman said in a statement to CNN, "Once again, we find ourselves consumed with a ridiculous non-story when we could be talking about the work the First Lady is doing on behalf of children, including the opioid crisis that is gripping our nation." So in other words, people, just forget fake Melania and be best. The world will be a better place. Fake Melania is fun, and the Twitter comments and late-night sketches are great and cathartic, but at the end of it all, there really just isn't any compelling evidence to support the idea that the First Lady uses a body double. According to Esquire, the one thing that most of these fake Melania discussions leave out of the equation is all the other photos that were taken on the same day as the conspiracy-supporting photos, that show the First Lady wearing the exact same clothes and standing in the exact same places, in which she very clearly looks like Melania Trump and not like a shorter Secret Service agent version of herself. So, is it all just harmless fun, or is it just as bad as all the other dumb conspiracy theories that have been circulating the globe since the beginning of time? It certainly is a lot more entertaining than the fake moon landing conspiracy or the who really shot JFK one. It also seems to bug the heck out of the White House, which is probably one of the reasons why so many people are still gleefully talking about it. And if it gets our collective minds off healthcare and climate change and the fact that no one in America gets along and the whole world is basically going to heck, well, bring it on. Maybe it will help us all be best, at least indirectly. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about the weird side of the news are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.